So hello and welcome to a film Mixologist, the place on the internet thingy where different decades collide. Case in point, these two units I've got here, they are exactly the same, it's just manufactured at completely different time. So I'll show you a bit closer in a bit, but basically this one is a very early production model and this is a much later production model, but they're both exactly the same. They're 750 vacuum secondaries, manual choke carburetors, list 3310s. So I'll show you a bit closer, see what we're working with. Okay, so let's start with the older one. So as you can see, it's got the the slotted screws. These were the kind of the very early ones, and it's got the kind of old style cathedral fuel bowl, and we got the same thing in the secondary, the kind of the slotted screws. And this unit obviously looks quite dusty, but it has got something quite unique here, which is the slightly thinner shaft on the secondaries, which is a nice thing to have. Obviously this shafts are okay. Oh dear, I haven't seen that. This could be a bit of a problem. I don't know if you can see it. Somebody tried to take this off, and the screw is still in there. But I think one of the things you can do actually is you can take the screw out through the other side in here. But anyway, that's one thing that we need to worry about when we get to kind of start rebuilding this car. And this one, the newer one, obviously the fuel bowls are quite different. Obviously it looks very new. You've got the writing in here, and also this writing in the main body of the carb, and obviously this looks kind of very new. All the throttle plates are in very good condition. This base plate is actually pretty good, which is good because it means I need to do a little bit less work. Always like a bit of that. Also, I don't know if you noticed, but the vacuum connections in the base plate are slightly different from the other one. But anyway, so these are the basic differences between these two carbs. And now what we need to do is we need to start, well, tearing them apart and start doing all the all the necessaries. Okay, so it's been a little bit of time since the first, obviously, since the first section of the recording. And now I've got the carbs where I've got them, the two of them, I've got it at the same stage. Yeah, so I've rebuilt. On one I had to just clean the base plate, on the other one I had to major surgery, completely rebuild it. And I've done all the fuel bowls and everything. So in this section, what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you obviously everything I've done to this carbs, and also a couple of tips that you might want to kind of have in mind when you're building, especially this model carb, because there is some things that you need to be kind of mindful of when you're building it in terms of what components go where. So let's bring you a little bit closer. Okay, so what you're seeing here is obviously the two throttle plates. This one, which was the newer carb, obviously needed some minor cleaning because it was actually in good condition. But one thing that you're gonna notice and kind of keep this in mind is this shaft. That is like a semicircle in here, is slightly bigger than the other shaft. So let me switcheroo. So this is the older carb. As you can see, this has been kind of chemically blackened, but if you see this shaft, it's like cut through. So this shaft obviously has less of a restriction to airflow than the slightly newer ones. So I think if you put kind of these two carbs one against the other, this one at full throttle is probably going to have a little bit more flow because of this. And also notice that I have put some I put the smallest screws I could possibly find in my stock, so that again they present less of a restriction to airflow than here. And obviously I had to chemically do the chemical blackening of the shafts of both because they were in a bit of a state. Generally speaking, as a general rule, generally older carbs tend to rebuild much better if they're very damaged, whilst newer carbs, they're good, let's say, if you just need to take some dirt off and it's a kind of surface things. But if a newer carb tends to be very damaged, that could be a little bit of a problem. Anyway, let's come back to other bits. Okay, so thinking now about fuel bowls, you can see there. Now, well, one of the things about this sort of carbs, the 750s, especially if you see them here, that they have a metering plate rather than kind of like a rear metering block, like it's something that would go there. It is very important that you put this sort of float on the secondary. Why? Because this float has a slightly longer arm than this one. And if you put one of these floats in here, it's going to start interfering here. And basically what will happen is that it won't let the needle and seat kind of seat there, and therefore you will start getting a situation where fuel starts kind of pouring out of here. So you really want to avoid that. So whenever you get a situation with a kind of metering plate carb like here, kind of make sure that you're putting one of these floats and it's got like a slightly shorter arm, and you'll be okay. Obviously on the main metering block, this was really good. This is the newer one, and I put like a 65 power valve, as it is 72 jets, which is what the manual calls for, which incidentally is exactly the same as the other one. So the model has remained consistent. The only thing I did is I replaced the idle mixture screws on the older one because they were a bit knackered basically. And funnily enough, interestingly, that these are the old fuel bowls from the earlier series, if you want, and you can see here that they have both this kind of nitrofill floats, both of them. So actually in here, in a situation like this, you could kind of interchange them. You could put one on the primary and one on the secondary, and it wouldn't really matter. But you know, it's important to have those things taken care of. Okay, so now I think what I need to do is I need to, you know, slam this unit together, get them dialed in and ready to be sent. I'll show you the final process, the final result, if you want to, once I get them done. Okay, so here we go. Win both units. Now, obviously, this one, the newer one, just needed a bit of a service, really, whilst the older one needed, you know, dare I say, like complete reconstruction. So I'll show you very briefly what's the final status of them, but it is, you know, it is what it is. The two units that are exactly the same model. It's just many years apart in manufacture. So there we go, a final look at the slightly newer one. I think this might be a Mopar kickdown linkage thing. Anyway, that's what it is. And this one, the slightly older one, but nevertheless now fully functional unit. So this is ready to be, you know, put on sale in the usual place. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you got any questions, you can put it down in the comments. And if not, I'll see you on the next episode.